Welcome back, everybody. Our first guest tonight is a Tony and Emmy-winning actor and comedian who hosted The Late Late Show for 8 years. He's returned to Broadway, starring in Art, which is playing at the Music Box Theater right here in New York. Please welcome back to the show, James Corden, everybody. Friend.
I'm very happy to be here.
I'm very happy to have you. I'm very happy to have you back in New York and also back on a Broadway stage. And
Yes.
the Music Box is where you made your Broadway debut, correct?
Well, it wasn't my debut.
Right.
My debut was when I did a play called The History Boys.
Of course.
Which was the Broadhurst. But yes, the last time I did a play on Broadway was in this magnificent theatre called the Music Box Theatre, where I feel like I walked in there in 2012, and my life changed immeasurably in every single sort of way.
That was
really.
One Man, Two Governors.
That's right. I did a play called One Man, Two Governors,
Which,
a big farce.
and I remember, like, during, I remember reaching out to you because, I'd heard, I did a terrible job of not seeing it when it happened, but during COVID, they posted the play. I think
Yes.
the version that you've done in the West End,
Yeah,
probably.
there's an amazing thing called National Theatre Live, which
Yeah.
is the National Theatre. If anyone's visiting Britain, the National Theatre is, I can say, I very honestly say, I think it's the greatest theatre in the world. It's a publicly funded theatre, and so many great things have come from there. And they do this thing called National Theatre Live, where you can go and watch the plays in a cinema if you can't get to London. And then they started broadcasting them internationally. And then when the pandemic happened, they made an amazing decision to just put them all up on YouTube once a week, and they would live there for a week. And the first play that they put up was One Man, Two Governors, I think because they thought people might probably want something that's relatively funny.
Yeah.
And it was pretty amazing. Like, I'd never seen it before. And watching it with my son, who, was born a week before we started rehearsing that play, and now was around sort of 9 or 10. And sitting watching it with him was kind of incredible.
Did it play with him? Was he enjoying it?
Yeah, well, he loves going to the theatre. He loves all
great.
arts and everything. And he actually said to me while we were watching it, and bearing in mind, as you will remember, hosting a late night talk show during the pandemic was a privilege and also very, very challenging.
Yeah.
Like, I was doing our show in our garage. Like, where did you do your show?
We were in an attic.
You were in the attic. I was in my garage, and
yeah, this is
and
New York.
It was hard, and it was like, ah. And my son Max actually said to me while we were watching it on YouTube, he just went, "Oh, Dad, you should do more stuff like that." He was like, "You should do more stuff." And I wanted to go, "Yeah, there's a pandemic!" But no, it was, it was kind of amazing.
The crazy thing in between your two Broadway shows at the Music Box is that in between you hosted a talk show for eight years,
Yeah.
which was, it really was a brilliant piece of casting because, I think when people think about shows like this and the kind of host they really did think outside the box with you. And is it true that they asked multiple times before you said yes to the idea of doing it?
Well, I didn't even really... It came about in a very strange way because my then bosses at CBS had seen this play, One Man, Two Governors, and I had asked to see me to speak about something. And it was about something else, actually. It was about the idea of doing like a network sitcom. And we got talking, and actually about maybe 5 or 6 days before this meeting, CBS had announced that Stephen Colbert was taking over from David Letterman. So I just brought up very organically in this meeting, I said, I think that is an incredible appointment. And they'd also done it very deftly, and it was really well handled, and everything was wonderful, and it was brilliant. And I just was like, that is a great appointment. And just said very off the cuff, really, I said, I think it really... I remember saying in the meeting, what are you going to do with that 12:30 slot? Because Craig Ferguson had said that he was going to leave. And they said that they hadn't even really thought about that yet. They'd been really focusing on Stephen. And I said, I think that 12:30 slot is a really interesting slot. And I said, I think you could make a show. You have to make a show that's different to the show that's on before, in the way that your show is very different to Jimmy's show. There's no point in having a show, like nowhere else in a TV schedule would you go, we're going to have a hospital drama from 8 till 9.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have another hospital drama from 9 till 10 with the same diseases.
Yeah.
You know?
In our defense, we do sometimes put a bunch of shows that take place in Chicago one after the other.
Right, yeah, that's true.
But that's different.
Different. It's,
Yeah.
It's different. Yes, they're all in Chicago.
Yeah, but they're
They're all
different.
in the same city, but just. And so I said, you know, you've got a real chance to have a show that really embraces and finds the internet and all these things. And really not talking about it. It was so far away from anything that it's nonsense. It's still ridiculous to me now that would be something that I did. And then, yeah, it was kind of amazing how.
Did they call and say, well, you convinced us? And you're like, of what?
Well, they called and said, I remember every time I drive past it on 6th Avenue, I really go, oh, that's where I got that phone call.
I know a few corners where I got phone calls like that. Yeah.
And it said, but the call said, would I come in and test to do it? And I said, no, I don't think so. I think that seems like a terrible idea. Because I was going to go and I was actually going to, I was in talks to do a musical on Broadway at the time, and I felt like I knew what I was really going to do, and then they called back again and said, what if it was just you testing? So it's essentially basically going, it's yours to lose.
Right.
You'd come to LA, you'd do a test and all these things, and I was like, and my wife was pregnant with our daughter, and I was like, yeah, no, I appreciate it. Just feels weird to me. It's not really, I don't think it's something I'll be very good at. I really remember, you know, being like that. And then it went quiet. And then they came back around again. And in that time, I'd gone to South Africa to shoot a show that I'd written for the BBC. And I remember, you know, Skyping. Do you remember Skype?
Yeah. So good.
You know where I'd love to be?
Where?
In the offices of Skype. About 4 weeks into the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, what? What the hell is Zoom? We've had 20 years to plan for this. They go, we've been working on a jingle. Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
Boop, boop, boop. I guess we need to get on a Skype. Cool, can you send me the Zoom link? What? And I was Skyping my son on my birthday, and I was in South Africa, and I remember thinking, I'm being very silly here.
Yeah.
This is a job which could be extraordinary. And actually, yes, there's loads of things I think I'll be terrible at, but maybe there'll be some things that I might be good at, and I'd rather regret doing something than not doing something. So why not just sort of go for it, safe in the knowledge that it won't work?
Yeah.
And that was it, genuinely, that was it.
It's amazing to have that genuine position of saying no because you actually mean no. Because that is an incredible negotiating tactic. Whereas, like, I could never pretend to say no if I wanted a job.
Right.
Like, when they offered me this job, I said yes, and I'll do it for half. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it is incredible strength when they can actually read, like, oh, we actually have to convince them to do this.
It was, but also it was such a big life decision to you know,
course.
pick up our family and move to Los Angeles and all these things, and to do a job that I you know, they were like, I'd never done a monologue, I'd never told a joke really. It's just not. I'm not very, and I stand by the fact that I'm not very good at it. You know.
We stand by the fact that we were very mad at how good you were, despite not having done any of those things. We're still pretty angry about it. I have a lot more to ask you. More with James after this. Back with James Corden. I am on the record of saying this. You know, and the one last thing I will say about your incredible run for 8 years is you have Carpool Karaoke. I believe is the best talk show bit of all time.
Oh man.
And now I also think one of the reasons it's the best is I think only you could do it, which is like the best bits are unique to the talents of the host. And so I was incredibly both jealous of it as a bit. I'm both jealous of your talent. But the one thing I believe you're a little jealous of me is that you had a dream person for Carpool Karaoke that did do day drinking but never did carpool.
Well, we always wanted to get Rihanna to do it, and we would.
I mean, I wish you had. I remember pitching like, we'll go to Barbados. Yeah.
Like what if we did that? Like, after we did.
We'll
the
just
McCartney
drive in a
one
small circle.
in Liverpool. Yeah, it was like. We'll do anything, and they just kept saying, "Yeah, when there's new music, we'll do it." And then we go, "But when's that?" And yeah, I mean, she would have been.
But you did, in a way, you had a duet with her recently. In a way.
Yes, in a sense, I'm a voice of one of the Smurfs, and Rihanna is Smurfette.
Yeah.
So technically, we did duet together, although never at the same time in the same room.
Gotcha.
But
that's a start.
It's a start.
Yeah.
It is, for sure.
And again, like you would blow the mothballs off carpool karaoke if she ever wanted to do it.
Oh.
You do not need a talk show to do that.
No, for sure.
Okay,
but
good.
I'm not waiting by the phone for that.
No. But like, just know that we all support you doing that.
Oh,
if
thanks.
The, if the opportunity comes up.
I would love to. Yeah.
All right, this is a fantastic play. This is a three-hander, as they call it.
Yes.
Incredible cast: Neil Patrick Harris, Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah.
This is a famous play that I guess hasn't been here in New York for what, 20 years?
It hasn't been on Broadway for I think 27 years. It won the Tony Award 27 years ago. It's an incredibly famous play. It gets taught in schools around the world and things like that. And it's the best thing I can say about the play, because I know that going to the theatre is a big commitment, is that it's 90 minutes, no interval. Straight through.
Yeah.
Straight through.
By the way, that's no small thing. That's
correct.
a big deal.
It's an absolute win. And so the play is really about three friends who've been friends for sort of 25, 30 years, and Neil's character, Serge, buys a painting. He buys a piece of art, which is essentially just a white canvas. It's just white. And he buys it for $300,000. And this purchase, one day, sets about essentially the destruction of an entire friendship. Because one friend, who Bobby Cannavale's character, is like, I don't know if I can be friends with someone who would do something this stupid. And Neil's character says, well, I don't know if I can be friends with someone who doesn't see that I love this and that it means a lot to me. And my character is a guy called Ivan, who's just in the middle, just trying to keep the entire friendship together because he's getting married in 12 days to someone that they've made it very clear that they don't like. And it's funny and it's moving, and we're about 9 shows in, and I have to say it is extraordinarily good fun, and I couldn't wish to go to work with two greater people. I mean, you must know Bobby and Neil very well. And
wonderful people.
They are just extraordinary, and the whole atmosphere, everything doing it, I'm so happy. It's really great.
This is about friendship. You wrote an incredible and starred an incredible show in England called Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah.
You had a Christmas reunion special a few years ago that people were just thrilled to see. And now you and your partner, Ruth Jones, are working on a new project, which is so exciting.
Yeah, so we just did the last episode of Gavin and Stacey. We really chose to end that run, which was like a 20-year journey, really. And we did the last ever episode, which went out on Christmas Day, which in Britain is the day to have. It's a thrill. To have a show on BBC One on Christmas Day was all I ever dreamt of. Genuinely, it was all I ever dreamt of. And so for our show to be sort of anointed in that kind of way, it was great. And I think Ruth and I had such a great time writing that one and making that one that we just started talking about an idea that we had. So we've written a new show called The Choir. It's a show about a community choir in Britain. It's very joyful. It's about family. It's about a found family. It's about siblings. It's about the fact that sibling relationships are incredibly complex, and often families who grow up in the same house didn't really grow up in the same house. And it's about the joy and the power of music. So we're writing it now, and we'll shoot it next summer, and it'll be out after that. And we really feel incredibly excited by it. I think we know that we probably can't. I don't know if we can make a show that is as impactful at home as a show like Gavin and Stacey. It means so much to people, but we're going to give it our best shot.
I would imagine one of the challenges is finding something you want to write as much as you initially wanted to write Gavin and Stacey, and it seems like you found that idea. Did it take you a long time to land on something like The Choir?
Well, it was an idea really that got sort of planted the seed for me when, this is a couple of years ago now, my mum's in a choir called The Blend in High Wycombe, which is a small town sort of about an hour outside of London. And we went out to see her perform in her Christmas concert where there's 3 different choirs on. And we went with the kids, and we'd been back in the country maybe 3 months. We drove out to High Wycombe and we watched this thing, and I'm very open to say I was there, and I burst into tears. I burst into tears because my mum looked so happy. She looked happy in a way that I hadn't seen her look that happy and joyful. And then I suddenly looked at all of these people, this choir, this ramshackled bunch of people all singing purely for the joy of singing. And also, all the women looked their exact age, and I'd been living in Los Angeles, so I hadn't seen that for a while. You know, no one was... But no, and I was... My youngest daughter, Charlotte, was on my knee, and Jules, my wife, was next to me, and my mum was singing. And it felt like, I don't know, I feel like so much, so often, all day, right now, we are constantly, all the time, just going, God, isn't everything terrible? Isn't it terrible? Everything's bad, and we're told that it's bad, and we're fed things to tell us it's bad. And here in this moment was just sheer, unbridled joy. And I turned to my wife and I said, this is it. And she said, what do you mean? I said, this is why we moved home. This is why we moved home, to have a moment like this with my mum. And my dad's over there playing saxophone. And I just...
By the way, I can't believe how long it took you to get to that part.
Nor will he. Nor will he. As far as my dad was concerned,
Not invited.
We weren't at a choir concert. We were at a saxophone gig. And anyway, and I left this thing, and I just kept thinking about the power of music and the power of community and how important that community is. And Ruth and I just started, as we often do, just talking about it. And we're overjoyed. We can't believe we're going to get to make it. And we hope it's, you know, not rubbish.
I'm sure it won't be. I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing you on Broadway. I'm so happy to have you here,
It's so
James.
nice to
Thank
be
you, buddy.
here.
Love your family.
Really, absolutely.
You guys, that's James Corden.